The truth is, nothing grips America more than a disaster headline story, or maybe even a story of war or political scandal. And in this case, resurfaced stories and headlines of the infamous serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer. As one of the most infamously glorified serial killers in all of American history, and in a leading Netflix series that documents his life and murders that it is that he committed, the Jeffrey Dahmer story is one that still undoubtedly gives you chills, making even the hair at the back of your neck stand up tall. But who exactly is this guy? And what's the story behind all the heinous acts that he committed? Hey everyone, this is Sean from Facts on TV, and in this episode we're going to take a look at 10 facts about Jeffrey Dahmer and some of his victims. Now I mean, the whole thing is just weird and sad, but if you stick around to fact number 6, this one I personally think is just really creepy when you come to think about it. Now with all that being said, I don't want to hold you up any longer, so let's get right into it. So who exactly is Jeffrey Dahmer? Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Known to be one of the most notorious serial killers in all American history, signs of him being in a problematic mental state was very evident from a young age, with one report stating that his first grade teacher made a note in a school report that she believed that Jeffrey was neglected at home. See, his parents also had challenges of their own. His mother apparently suffered from extreme anxiety and depression, where there was an incident where she overdosed on pills in an attempted suicide. Now let's take a look at Jeffrey's love for the dead. He was said to be overly obsessed with sex and death. His father revealed that at a young age he was very interested in roadkill. Now his dad was quoted saying, Jeffrey would cut them open and examine the insides of the animals. He did what most all of us young males would do when the hormones start kicking in tremendously, and he was doing something sexually with them. And I think the neural connections, made contact and sort of hardwired Jeff. So his dad was basically saying that because Jeffrey was getting sexual with these roadkills that it is that he would collect, it basically messed up his mind in a really weird sexual way where he became who it is that he became. Jeffrey learned the art of dead body preservation. Now it's said that his dad would show him how to clean and preserve animals, and his dad admits that this was something that he would do with his son as somewhat of a way for him to be able to connect with Jeffrey. And unfortunately, later on when Jeffrey started committing his crimes, he would use the exact same technique to preserve the dead bodies of his victims, where he would clean and preserve them and keep them in his apartment. Now, have you ever seen the show Bates Motel? The main character in that entire series, Norman Bates, has a similar complex to what it is that Jeffrey Dahmer has, where he had an interesting fascination with taxidermy, which is the art of preserving and restuffing dead roadkill or animals. Now, if you know anything about Bates Motel and the Psycho movie series, you'll start to make some connections here, and it's really interesting that something similar is happening in real life with Jeffrey Dahmer, where with this you have art clearly mimicking reality. Now the truth is, the first Psycho film came out before Jeffrey Dahmer started his first killing, but I'm sure that there was probably some kind of influence there. Now that's just me saying that. There's no truth to that whatsoever, but it's still an interesting parallel nonetheless. Now before we move on to the next fact, please do us a favor. If you like what it is that we've created on this channel, and if you like our content, please go ahead and smash the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up or a like, and go ahead and please interact with us in the comment section, or if you have any thoughts or comments about what it is that we've mentioned in this video. We'll love to hear your thoughts. So again, if you haven't done so already, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment and share your thoughts. Now let's go ahead and get right on into the next fact. Now we're going to take a look at Jeffrey Dahmer's first murder. Now it's reported that he committed his first murder when he was only 18 years old. And this was in the Bath Township in Ohio in 1978. He admitted that he brought a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks back to his house, where he choked and basically beat him to death with a sledgehammer. Now in an admission, Dahmer said that the guy wanted to leave, but he didn't want him to leave, and so therefore he ended up killing him. And then even more than that, he went ahead and scattered the guy's bones all over the yard, where more than a decade later the police was able to find and recover over 500 pieces of bones that belonged to the man that Jeffrey Dahmer murdered. Now it's said that Jeffrey Dahmer joined the military when it was suggested to him by his father. Now while in the army, he was trained as a combat medic from 1979 to 1981 as a member of the 2nd Battalion, 68th Armored Regiment, 8th Infantry Division. Now he was later honorably discharged, but not before he was accused multiple times of rape and sexual assault. And part of his discharge from the military was because of his abuse of alcohol. And it turns out that that was a problem that it is that he struggled with throughout his life. Now when you come and take a look at the simple fact that not only did he learn to master dead body preservation, but he was also a combat medic, you could clearly see how it is that he meticulously used his techniques when it is that he was engaging a lot of his victims. And from what I understand, he was very calculated in how it is that he did it. So we're now here at fact number 6, and at the top of this video I said that this one for me was just was just wow. It was just really weird and just really creepy that someone would actually want to do this. Now, one of the most chilling things about the Jeffrey Dahmer story was his obsession to wanting to build a temple. And not just any temple, but one that would house the skull and bones of his victims. Now, the Daily Mail reveals that Dahmer had drawn out a sketch of this altar, and the drawing was complete with labels of where it is that he would place the skulls and the skeletons on a black table. Now, it's said that if he wasn't caught when it is that he was caught, he would have been able to complete his altar and ultimately his temple, also dubbed the Murder Shrine. Now, Jeffrey Dahmer killed a lot of people, 17 to be exact. And an interesting thing is that all of the individuals that it is that he murdered had a very similar profile. According to USA Today, it said that Jeffrey would frequently lure victims into his apartment with promises of money, and generally he targeted people who moved from place to place. He would also select men who were vulnerable and runaways, like hitchhikers or even drug dealers. And it also turned out that most of his victims were black men. And he said that he selected these kinds of individuals because their disappearances were less likely to be reported right away. The victims of Jeffrey Dahmer ranged in age quite greatly, with the oldest being 33 years old and the youngest being 14 years of age. Where Jeffrey's last victim, Tracy Edwards, well, he got lucky. He was able to escape his apartment and then run to the authorities to report the incident. He was then able to leave the authorities directly to Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, where the police ultimately found and uncovered the other victims' body parts, which finally led to them catching and arresting the serial killer that's been terrorizing America for so long. Now, Tracy Edwards told the police that he was able to escape by gaining Jeffrey Dahmer's trust. He was quoted saying, "He underestimated me. God sent me there to take care of the situation." Now, according to ABC News on October 31st, 2011, that's right, it was on Halloween night. ABC News posted a story to their website that reported that Tracy Edwards, the same guy who escaped Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, was being charged with homicide. Apparently, he was accused of throwing a man off a bridge in Milwaukee. Tracy Edwards' lawyer at the time was reported saying that this was pretty much a story or a situation of Humpty Dumpty, where after the Jeffrey Dahmer incident, he just couldn't really put the pieces of his life back together again. Now, it's said that at the time, Tracy Edwards was homeless and in and out of shelters. And because of his connection to the Jeffrey Dahmer case and the years after Jeffrey got convicted, Tracy became very known to police. I mean, he was charged with sexual assault and started to rack up a whole heap of police charges, including arrests for drug possession, property damage, bail jumping, and failure to pay child support. This kind of troubled person is the classic profile of whom it is that Jeffrey Dahmer preferred to have as one of his victims. But for Tracy, I guess the whole story is kind of bittersweet, where he was able to help catch one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, but in the same breath, he wasn't really able to get himself back together, where he ultimately ended up living a life of homelessness and crime. On September 21st, 2022, Netflix released a 10-part series called Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Though generally highly rated and critically acclaimed, the series was seen as a slap in the face to the Jeffrey Dahmer victims' families, where many of these family members expressed their anger over not knowing that the series was coming out on Netflix, arguably the world's most popular streaming platform. Now, several of the family members expressed that because of the series coming out, it rekindled trauma that it is that they just really wanted to leave behind them, and that they never truly got over the heinous crimes that it is that their family members went through. Now, the LA Times went on to publish some of the tweets from said disgruntled family members. This particular family member being Eric Perry, where he says, "I'm not telling anyone what to watch. I know true crime media is huge right now, but if you're actually curious about the victims, my family, the Isabels, are pissed about the show." Now, he continued with a follow-up tweet saying, "It's re-traumatizing over and over again. And for what? How many movies, shows, and documentaries do we need?" Now, let me pause and ask you the question. Do you think that Netflix should have given the family members some kind of heads up that the show was coming out? Are they obligated to do so legally? Where is it now more of a moral issue where it would have been nice for Netflix to just let them know that this show was coming out? Because as we know, murder stories get a lot of attention. Now, the second part of that question is, how would you feel as a family member? And to wrap things up, do you think that the world has enough stories about Jeffrey Dahmer and all these serial killers that keep on being recycled in TV movies and in blockbuster films? Or could one consider that this is just another retelling of a historical account in American history? Just like how there's several movies about World War II or even the Holocaust? Or could this be considered a retelling of an old story for a brand new generation, where Though it may be traumatizing and triggering, these are very real things that happen in American history, and this is just another way to document that. And of course, with some people, they were turned off because of some of the graphic imagery in the series, but I'm really interested again to see what you guys think about the Jeffrey Dahmer case being resurfaced in American media. Go ahead and sound off in the comment section of this video and let me know your thoughts. And of course, for me, it's just all good fun at the very end of the day. So again, we thank you guys, we appreciate you, we love you, and we'll catch you guys in another video.